Hello, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And I was planning to be outside, but my laptop didn't charge, so I didn't want to do something outside and then suddenly everything crashes because I don't have enough battery power. Anyhow, we just watched some bird footage from Coronet. We've been scanning the Coronet collection, and this is one of the cans, what they call stock can, which has a lot of outtakes. And what they would do is they would shoot stuff for a film, and then whatever was left over, they just built up on a reel, and that's what we're going through right now, is all that stuff. Anyhow, let's sing along to Young Girl in the Garden. Enjoy. That was nice. It was, yeah, kind of meditative. In the visual, I don't know if they did a rear projection because there's a reflection in the floor. So I don't know like how that worked. But it was pretty cool nonetheless. Um, let's think back 84 years and figure out why this film existed. This is Screwdrivers of 1940. Enjoy.
Any place in particular you'd like to go for lunch, Charlie?
Lunch is on me today, Dick. Let's go to the largest club in the world.
Oh, you mean the noontime club?
No, a larger club than that.
Largest club in the world? I don't get it. But here's my car. Let's get in.
Okay. Well, how was it?
It was swell. But I still don't get this largest club in the world business.
You will in a minute. Just look at the screen.
Drivers are the screwiest people.
You're right, Lou, but don't forget the heedless pedestrians. They're kind of screwy, too.
Yeah. All brothers under the tin. I've got my hands full with the screwdrivers, and you got the screwy pedestrians or screwjays. That's what they are, screwjays. You got them, and you're stuck with them. Ah, here's the drivers. That's my department. Where are they coming from? Who are they? Everybody's there. Everybody's driving cars these days. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick, even you and me. Come on, let's get down to cases. Let's take any driver. In other words, Mr. Anybody. Is he a businessman? Here's a typical businessman. Are you the man we're looking for? No. Mr. Mechanic, could you be our man? No? Well, all right. I was only asking. Let's see. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the butcher. Hey, butcher, give me a pound of ground. Oh, skip it. Are you Mr. Anybody? No. Ah, Mr. Two-Villager, my old zoology teacher. Say, Mr. Two-Villager, could you be Mr. Anybody? No, Mr. Two-Villager, you ain't even close. The businessman, the mechanic, the butcher boy, Mr. Two-Villager, put them all together. No, they don't spell mother, they spell, everything is going wrong. What gives out? What goes on? What's the matter? Let's get together. Hey, who is this coming from all these drivers? Could you be any driver, anybody, by any chance, Mr. Anybody? Okay, Mr. Anybody. Thank goodness I found you. Well, now that I found you, just go on your merry way. Make like I'm not following you. But I'm going to watch you and see how you drive. Here we go, merrily on our way. Hey, look out, Mr. Anybody. Don't pull out like that without looking back or holding out your hand. Oh, it doesn't bother you. Such manners. A screwdriver, that's what you are, a screwdriver. Why didn't you hold out your hand? Why didn't you look before you pulled out? See what happened. Look what you've done. If you only knew how you look to other people. Oh, you don't care. You didn't get hurt. So it's a screwdriver you are, Mr. Anybody. My, ain't you ashamed? Well, Mr. Anybody, so you're not always screwy. Sometimes you act almost like a gentleman. Where you going now? Oh, a phone call. Look out, who's this? An early shopper for next Christmas. Look out, little lambkins. Such a polite Mr. Anybody and such manners, but such differences from your driving manners. He picked up the package for the busy shopper. That's Mama's polite little gentleman. But don't forget the phone. Hello, Mama. Bring home what? A pound of ground 10 pounds Rudy Bear, Turner, heads of leather, Brussels sprout, apples for the teacher. Coming up, Mama, right away. Yeah, all right, Mama. Yeah, I bring them home. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Here we are on our merry way again. To market, to buy a fat pig. If you bring home a bargain, Mama will jig. Hey, Papa, there's the market. Don't forget Mama's Rudy Bear, turnips. Where you going to park? Not there, Papa. That's for going, not for stopping. Oh, Papa, my. Only a screwdriver double parks. No consideration for the other fella. Just look how you've jammed up traffic. And are those drivers mad at you? What's people looking at? You don't know, Papa? Well, you should. You're such a screwdriver. My... Mr. Anybody, it's just people like you that make people like me angry. It's people like you, Mr. Anybody, if you know what I mean. What's this? The Hardy family having a Jones dinner. I mean the Jones family having a Hardy dinner. It's Mr. Anybody, Papa in his own home. And look how nice he is to Mama's mama. Now for some home-cooked Rudy Beggars. There, I said it. Here comes the bread. Why, Junior, is that nice rushing in like that? You might upset the stew on Mama's dress. Remember, always be a gentleman. Wait for your Papa. Papa, will you give the signal? Yeah, Papa will give the signal. Now, wait a minute. No. Wait for Papa. Mother? Mother's mother? Yeah? Now. Okay. Oh, but such driving manners. It's Papa out in traffic again. For heaven's sake, Papa, where are you going? Look out where you're going. Look out for your fender. Why don't you look where you're going? Why don't you go where you're looking? Why don't you slow down? My, Mr. Anybody, why don't you... Why? Such a weaving in and out. Such an in and outer. Half the time he's polite and half the time he's got lousy, terrible manners. Say, you look like Junior coming to dinner. What's the idea of rushing like that? Oh, I see. You got to get somebody there in a hurry. Well? Hey, wait for the signal. You're worse than Junior. Now, look, you got people going and coming. That's the trouble with you, Mr. Anybody. You're going when you should be stopping, and you're stopping when you should be gone. A pretty kettle of fish. Why didn't you wait for the signal? Well, here you are again. Nice work, sport. You made it without a moment's delay. Hurry right over to the hospital for your brother's appendectomy operation. Oh, so you're not dashing to the hospital. So it's not an emergency. So it's only talk, small talk. Hey, you can't do that. Those guys back there are burning up. Dispositions and gasoline. Who is that guy that just got out of your car? Oh, I see. He's a screwy pedestrian, a screw jay. I might have known it. A screwdriver on foot. I bet you're really a nice fella, too. A careful, considerate man until you get loose on the street.
Just a minute, Lou. This is where I come in. Let me at this thoughtless pedestrian, this screw jay. You've handled the screwdriver. This fella's mine.
Okay, Don, take him away. And welcome. Take him far, far away.
All right, Lou, I'll take him. This fellow represents the thoughtless man on the street. Here's Exhibit A. Did you ever see a dream walking? Well, here's one. A literary screw jay walking right into trouble. And he would really be in trouble if those people didn't have good brakes. Here's another type. He's the spirit of 76 screw jay, independence personified. Sure, he sees the motorists out of the corner of his eye, but who settled this country anyway? He knows his rights, and he's going to stick up for them, let the hips fall where they may. Why, he's practically daring those motorists to hit him. Hey, look out! Oh, an official screw jay. This type wants everybody else to go home till he gets through using the streets. All he needs is a tin badge. That is, till he gets hit. Well, at least he knows where he's going. Oh, wait a minute, he's changing his mind. Now he's an open field screw jay. Thinks he's playing football. Watch him crash that line. Oh, he's down. No, he's up. Boy, look how he's throwing traffic for a loss. There he goes, he's in the clear. No, they got him. No, he made it, and he almost makes us wish he hadn't. Cars, thousands of them, every day, everywhere. Traffic problems are really acute. With the increasing number of cars, the need for courtesy on our streets and highways is also becoming increasingly apparent. Screwdrivers and screw jays. Traffic tangles and snarls. All contributing to a higher cost of transportation, a greater strain on both our nerves and our pocketbooks. But no, it's not entirely hopeless. Progress is being made. Traffic engineers are at work developing new and more efficient roads and highways. Here are some typical scenes showing engineering progress. Bridge approaches. Over and under passes. Boulevard parkways. Here's an impressive scene of a modern cloverleaf, a fine engineering contribution to eliminate highway congestion. Legislative bodies are also at work, passing and enforcing new and better laws. Mayors, chiefs of police, civic bodies, all are tackling this great problem. One large oil company is vigorously attacking
What happened? So that was a film from Prelinger Archive. They've been digitizing stuff, and it just cuts off. But what confounds me about this, and so that was Lou Lahr, who did a lot of Fox movie tone narrations, kind of wacky newsreel things, and he's known for Monkeys is the craziest peoples, which shows up in a lot of Warner Brothers cartoons. And so this was a thing for Shell Gas, but why is there a movie in a movie? I don't understand. Like, why is this? They're going to this dinner club for lunch, and they're like, "Oh, watch the screen," because there's a totally different movie. Like, why did they do that? And so I need to find another copy of this because I do not understand what's going on. I get the shtick. I get Lou Lahr. I get that, but so weird. And this is why I like collecting and showing films. Is like, what? Why did they have to make it a different movie? Why don't you just call it either Screwdrivers of 1940 or call it The Largest Club in the World? Why do you have to have a movie in the movie? And I can't find a reference of Largest Club in the World as existing as a separate movie. So I don't get it. Anyways, let's map the Earth's surface in the meantime while we try to figure this out. Enjoy.
Maps are everywhere. They're beside the pilot or navigator of every plane. They're in the glove compartment of almost every car. They're in every geography textbook. Maps are essential to the city planner, to the geologist hunting for oil, to every kind of military operation. The accuracy required of a map, of course, depends on its intended use. To the captain of this ship, it's critically important that the different depths of the water off this coastline are exactly what his charts say they are. It's critically important to the captain of this plane that the heights of the actual mountains are exactly as indicated on his charts. Not higher, not lower. Even in the construction of a building, it is important that it be located properly, not 10 feet to the west in violation of the building code or even on someone else's property. Accurate maps are important, but who actually makes them and how are they made? Here's one man involved in one part of map making. Here's another. They both work for the United States Geological Survey and are quite literally measuring the surface of the Earth. Each new measurement they make begins at some point whose location has already been accurately established and marked on the Earth's surface with concrete and metal. The surveyor centers his instrument precisely over one of these known marks. From there, the distance to a proposed new point can be obtained. It can be measured physically with a special metal tape, or it can be measured electronically, a newer, faster, more accurate way to measure distances. This particular system, for example, directs a high-frequency radio signal to a reflecting unit. This instrument bounces the radio signal back to the transmitter. Extremely sensitive equipment in the transmitter measures the time it takes the radio signal to make this round trip. Suppose it takes 1/10,000th of a second to go and return. We know precisely how fast radio waves travel. We'll round it off to 186,000 miles per second for this example. Now the exact round-trip distance between the two devices can be calculated. 18 6/10 miles. 9 3/10 miles, just half of that, is the one-way distance. Now by changing instruments, we can use this measurement between points A and B to locate a third point, say point C. Standing at point A, the surveyor uses a theodolite, a sort of protractor with a telescope. He first measures the angle at A between his baseline and a line running to the new point at C. When his instrument is sighted precisely on the rod there, he knows angle A. The same thing is done from the other end of the baseline at point B. The surveyor accurately measures the angle there between the baseline and another line running to the new point at C. Again, he sights carefully on the rodman still at point C. Now, knowing the length of one side of a triangle and the two adjacent angles, the distances to point C can be precisely calculated. This method is called triangulation, and each side of the triangle formed by these 3 points can now be used as a base to locate still more points. Triangulation can be repeated until the area to be mapped is dotted with control points. That is, points whose horizontal location relative to one another are accurately known. In practice, of course, it isn't always simple to do this. In flat country, for example, where there are no natural high points or tall buildings, surveying teams must provide their own high points. Tall towers, like this one, are used as platforms by the surveyors. This allows them to sight over any obstructions, like trees, to the other points of the surveying triangle. The theodolite is hoisted to the top of the tower. From the tower, the job of triangulation is the same as it was on the ground. The surveyor carefully measures the needed angles. Here, because of the greater distance involved, sighting is done on a flashing light at the top of the other towers. The flashing light is easier to sight on than a rod. A still newer technique uses a helicopter instead of a tower. A weighted plumb line is dropped and suspended just above the new control point to be located. The helicopter is kept hovering precisely over this point, and the flashing beacon on top of it is in effect the top of a very tall rod. The direction and distance to this light is measured in the same way as if it were a rod, and its exact position is determined by triangulation. But more than horizontal points must be located to make an accurate map. The different heights of our Earth's surface must also be measured and recorded. And so a network of vertical check or control points is needed. These vertical control points are located in much the same way as the horizontal ones, beginning at sea level, zero elevation, the point where the land first rises from the sea. But sea level itself is constantly changing. It changes daily and weekly with the tides, even yearly as a result of gradual changes in the Earth's climate. So a standard sea level was created. Sea level readings taken at many stations over a period of time were used to calculate an average called mean sea level. This mean sea level became the standard, and from it, a network of vertical control points was established. From point to point, surveyors measured the profile of the land as it rises and falls. A newer, faster technique for measuring vertical distances uses this special vehicle. The fifth wheel in the center of the truck accurately measures the distance the vehicle travels. At the same time, a pendulum inside continuously measures changes in the slope of the road. These two measurements are fed to an onboard computer, which continuously converts this information into changes in height. As soon as the vehicle stops, the precise elevation of another vertical control point is known. The locations of these control points, both vertical and horizontal, are made permanent by the federal government with metal markers set in concrete. And it is around each of these control points that the map maker begins to collect the details of the terrain. Once, he actually had to go into the field and painstakingly measure and sketch every feature that was to be included on his final map. Today, planes collect in hours information that formerly took years to obtain. Within the plane, there is a high-resolution camera. It takes hundreds of extremely detailed, overlapping photographs of the Earth's surface, far below. The enormous amount of information stored on these hundreds of photographs is carefully extracted at one of the 4 regional offices of the United States Geological Survey. First, the individual photographs must be stereoscopically related to one another. The operator moves the tracing table of a special stereo device. He lines up the mark in the center of the table with 2 overlapping images of the same ground control point that appear in 2 adjoining photographs. The machine measures the exact location of this common point. When the operator presses a button, that location is recorded on a punch card. A computer then mathematically relates all the control points on the various photographs to one another. When this is done, the framework of these control points is transferred to the beginning map manuscript. With the photographs matched to one another, the detailed information that they contain can now be traced from them. One of the overlapping photos is projected onto the table with one color light, the matching photo with a different color. The special glasses that the operator wears let him see one photo with one eye, the other with the other eye. And instead of looking like 2 slightly mismatched images, they merge in his mind into a single 3-dimensional image of the Earth as it looked beneath the airplane. Even the tiny dot in the center of the tracing table, represented here by a much larger black circle, seems suspended in space. He continually adjusts a knob beneath that table so that the dot of light appears to just touch the surface of whatever feature he's tracing. Steadily and precisely, the details of the Earth's surface on the photographs are transferred from them through the arms of a pantograph to the map paper. To show changes in height, the same instrument is used. The dot of light is locked at a specified level, and the operator traces all those points on the photographs that are that particular height. This produces a contour line. When one line is finished, the dot is set at a different elevation, and another contour line is added. When all the information this operator can get from the photographs has been mapped, field engineers must go back to pick up any missing information. Here, for example, the road being mapped was hidden from the aerial camera by trees. The field engineers also classify roads and buildings and add the man-given names of things that no camera can record. When all such information has been added to the map, the preparation of negatives for the printing plates begins. A draftsman scribes outlines around bodies of water. This negative will eventually be made into a printing plate that will reproduce these outlines in dark blue. A separate plate will be prepared to fill in the large water features with light blue. Another plate will show woods and orchards in green. These colors have become more or less standardized for maps. Still another plate will eventually reproduce roads and section lines in red. The plate containing the contour lines that describe the changing elevations of the land will be printed in brown. The plate that contains man-made features like buildings and railroads and names will be printed in black. When all the negatives for these government maps are completed, they go to Washington, D.C., where the plates are prepared and the maps printed. Certain maps are also prepared in shaded relief. An artist adds shadows and highlights to the sides of hills and mountains. This makes the relief features of an ordinary topographic map easier for the unskilled map reader to understand. Carrying this idea even further, some maps may be prepared in actual three-dimensional relief. To do this, a model is first made by routing out, layer by layer, exact duplicates of the contour lines. Using the contour levels as the basic relief, a realistic model of the Earth's surface is prepared. To make copies, the maps are printed on plastic. The plastic sheets are heated until soft, then drawn tightly against the model by a vacuum. But even while maps of the Earth's surface are being made, the Earth's surface itself is changing. The forces of nature and the forces of men combine to change the details of the surface. In addition, great parts of our Earth have not yet been accurately mapped. To do the job, newer, faster mapping techniques are needed, including astronomical theodolites used to sight on orbiting satellites. The work involved in accurately mapping the surface of our Earth is massive, and the job is a continuous one.
Where'd I go? Yeah, here we go. Painstaking description of how they used to map the Earth. That has all changed, of course, due to GPS and satellites, etc., etc. But it's fascinating nonetheless because it was all built on current technologies are built on previous technologies and understandings of how things are mapped, etc. Let's see. I feel bad. I realized yesterday, in the course of saying like, oh, I'm going to do this theme show, it's going to be fun, I showed a film that was probably not appropriate for lunch. The officer survival film, which showed a police officer being gutted by a deranged person. I apologize for that. That was something that we should have kept for after dark. But the one thing that kind of resonates with me is the fact that somebody who's supposedly on the police officer's side delighted in showing and creating that skit. I mean, sure, you want to talk about the dangers for police officers to take it seriously, but that was kind of sick. That was really messed up. And maybe it was made to like make police officers like, oh, he just has a knife, and say like, oh no, this is what could potentially happen with a knife. I have no idea, but I apologize for that. And so now I'm going to show you another unsettling thing, potentially unsettling. This is a film that was made by Encyclopedia Britannica in 1951 or 2. It's called Drug Addiction. Let's watch and enjoy.
happy time and a carefree time. A time of auto rides and double dates. It's a time of fun, of pranks and jokes, of ice cream cones and chocolate sodas. Youth is a time for getting a job, for finding one's place in the world. But sometimes in these troubled days, the very thoughtlessness of youth has led to a living nightmare. Addiction to drugs, too often acquired with tragic carelessness, may take control of a life and force actions not dreamed of before. To these addicts, life's only work is to find money for drugs. In their desperation, no means is too foul. Their only goal in life is to keep the deadening chemicals forever in their heart's blood. The cause of this living death is a white powder, innocent looking, but deadly. Once this was a poppy growing in Italy or Turkey or some other hot land. The dried juice of this plant produces opium, a powerful drug. Contained in opium is morphine, used by doctors to relieve severe pain. From morphine comes heroin, outlawed even medically from the United States. These and other derivatives form the group of drugs called opiates. Opiates are classed as depressants. An overdose causes unconsciousness, then death. A smaller dose, taken into the bloodstream, inhibits all the functions of the body by its action on the brain and the central nervous system. But the body gradually builds up a tolerance to the drug. More and more is needed to produce the same effects. After continued use, the body acquires a physical dependence on opiates. so that withdrawal of the drug causes a brief but violent illness until the body can make a readjustment. Another depressant is marijuana, derived from the hemp plant. It inhibits and distorts the action of the brain and nervous system in a manner somewhat different from opiates. A third drug, cocaine, is derived from the leaves of the coca plant. Its action is different from that of the depressants. When cocaine enters the body, it has a strong effect on body functions by acting as an irritant on the brain. Cocaine causes unusual and often unpredictable feelings and actions. Instead of physical dependence, marijuana and cocaine cause profound mental and emotional disturbances. A large overdose of cocaine causes convulsions, then death. Government agencies charged with the enforcement of narcotics laws have been able until recently to decrease steadily the number of addicts in the United States. These addicts have included persons in every walk of life. Some are petty criminals who will remain drug addicts all their lives. Many addicts come from teeming slum areas where human misery runs high. But the grim specters of heroin, marijuana, and cocaine are not confined to any area or to any group. Wherever there is a troubled personality, no matter how hidden or unrecognized, there may be a seedbed for drug addiction. So unpredictable is this habit that occasionally even one who knows the dangers may become addicted before he realizes it. Sometimes the addict may come from a wealthy family, where drugs respect neither riches nor poverty. Such a victim doesn't have to steal to support his expensive habit, but the degrading effects are the same. In recent years, there has been a shocking increase in drug addiction among young people, often in their teens, who take up the habit without the slightest understanding of the living nightmare they are so unthinkingly walking into. To get the illegal drugs, they are forced to deal with criminals who prey on those least able to defend themselves. And to find money for their expensive habit, they often turn to crime themselves.
Then I looked down under his foot and I found this envelope with 6 caps in it. Here's a chemical lab report on it. It's heroin.
What do you have to say, Demelon? Let's see your arms. How long have you been taking heroin?
Well,
Speak up.
about 2 years, I guess.
What about before then?
Well, I smoked marijuana for a while.
How long?
4 or 5 months, I guess.
How did you get started on this?
Well, I don't know. A friend of mine, he started me.
Started by a friend. An oft-told story. For drug addiction is contagious. One addict can make 5. 5 can make 25. Marty's story is like many of the others. It started 2 years ago with marijuana cigarettes.
Come on, it's my turn next.
Gee, Duke, where'd you get him?
I know a guy. 3 for $1.
Let me try. Gee, I feel awful funny.
Me too. I feel kind of sick.
Come on, Marty, pass it on.
Marty got kind of sick too, but he wouldn't let on. He was determined to be one of the gang if it killed him. And it almost did. Several weeks later, After smoking reefers, Marty's befogged brain hit on a clever way to open pop bottles. Later, Stan went to the hospital for swallowing broken glass. Marty badly cut the inside of his mouth, though he didn't even know it at the time. Duke was the one who got Marty on the habit. It was just a business matter to Duke, though Marty didn't find it out till later.
Hey, Marty. Here. Okay, here. What's that? H. H? What's H? That's a lot. It's heroin. Will it make me sick like the reefers did? Go on and try it. I dare you. How much does it cost? This one ain't gonna cost you nothing. It's free. Go on. I dare you.
In his ignorance, Marty took that dare, little knowing the eventual horror that lay in the deadly white powder. Those first capsules were free. But when Marty started asking for them, the price came high. $1.50 apiece.
That's right, kid. $15.
This ought to hold me for a while. I hocked my camera to get this dough.
Where's my cut?
You don't get one. This kid's hooked. Go out and get some new kids if you want to cut.
Well, he's still snorting it.
So what? Snorting or mainlining, what's the difference? He's hooked.
Hey, look, I gotta have my cut. It's costing me more than ever now that I'm on speedballs. That cocaine comes high.
That's your problem, kid. So, you're snorting it, huh?
Yeah.
Well, don't be a sucker. You're wasting it that way. Use a needle.
Is that what you do, Louis?
Listen, kid, I ain't on the stuff.
Don't ever think I am.
Yeah, sure. Like I'm doing it, see? Mainlining it.
Don't it hurt?
Yeah, sure, some. I guess that vein will give out someday. But the stuff costs too much to waste it.
That's right, kid. You ought to go on the needle.
Nah, I don't want to punch myself full of holes like that.
But he did use the needle, despite his fear of it. At first, he shot the drug under his skin, then directly into the vein. As his body gradually built up a tolerance, he needed more and more of the drug. There was no pleasure in it for Marty. It was a bodily demand. He was using 4 or 5 caps a day now. They cost him $7.50, $52.50 a week. It was more than his salary at the store could pay for. But he was wrong. Barston didn't prosecute, but Marty no longer had a job. Drugs were becoming Marty's whole life. He was abnormally sleepy, losing weight, cross, irritable, fearful that the puncture marks on his arms would be discovered. His former friends now let him strictly alone. But with a false sense of loyalty, they didn't report him to the authorities. They would have done him a favor if they had. The only associates left for Marty were other drug addicts like Duke. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered but the ever-present craving for the drugs. He had given up interest in everything else. Marty's family saw all of these symptoms and others too, but didn't understand them. Often in the morning, his pillow would be wet from perspiration. His mother knew something was wrong. Something.
Marty, have you seen the pinking shears I bought last week? Can't seem to find them anywhere.
How should I know, Mom?
Marty, you don't seem right, son. I'm worried about you.
I'm all right, Mom. Just leave me alone.
There's something wrong. I'm going to take you down to Dr. Bleeker's this afternoon for a checkup.
No. No, I'm all right.
Well, you don't act like it, son. I don't know what it could be. Ever since you lost that job at Mr. Barston. I don't know.
I'm all right, Mom. I'll snap out of it.
I hope so. You've lost weight. You don't have dates. You don't go out with the fellas anymore like you used to. There's something wrong. I know there must be. Well, boys go through all kinds of stages. Dr. Bleeker can tell us if there's anything wrong. I hope it isn't anything serious. Marty! Marty!
Marty was hooked. physically dependent on heroin. When he was without white powder too long, his whole body revolted in dreadful protest. Sweat poured from him. He got the shakes. He had cold chills. His nose ran and his eyes ran. He was doubled up by piercing cramps, plagued by sudden attacks of vomiting and of diarrhea. Nothing could stop these attacks but more of the white drug in his veins.
All right, kid. Beat it. I don't want you hanging around here.
Okay, give me a chance.
Getting it tough, huh?
None of your business.
Okay. That's the way you feel about it? I was just trying to help you out, that's all.
Yeah, you wouldn't help your mother out of a rat hole.
How would you like to make a fast couple of bucks?
Doing what?
Oh, it's easy. Nothing to it. I could use some new customers.
Customers. You mean suckers.
I'll give you the same cut I gave Duke.
What happened to him?
Oh, he's brought in everybody he knows. I gotta branch out.
Well, I could use the dough at that.
Fine. Set him out on reefers. It's easier that way, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, that's the way I started. You got him?
Sure. For you, 2 bits apiece.
Well, give me 2 for now. That's all the dough I got. Right now.
So Marty went out to spread his contagion. And Louis, well, it was just business to him. The capsules of heroin, so necessary to Marty, were only so much stock to Louis. That stock had reached him through a series of well-organized underworld transactions. Some months back, smuggled ashore in a box of fresh-caught fish, were a number of small tubes of pure heroin, 1 kilogram in all, a little more than 2 pounds. Originally bought for $1,000, it was resold after being smuggled into this country for $7,000. It was mixed with a similar-looking white powder, milk sugar, and sold again for $30,000. These were big business transactions possible only by organized criminal syndicates. Many believe such syndicates, in a cold-blooded scheme to create a market for their drugs, are directly responsible for the sudden growth of drug addiction among young people. By the time Louis Legty got it, the heroin had been cut many times, passed through many hands. He cut it again and put it up in capsules. There was less than 3% heroin in those capsules. The underworld made more than $250,000 on the original $1,000 investment. Big stakes, worth taking a few chances for, especially when pusher Louis would take the rap. But even Louis wasn't taking much of a chance. He had junkies, dope addicts, working for him, like Marty Demelon. Marty had to keep going somehow to bring in the daily flow of money necessary to keep his habit supplied with drugs. When there were no new customers for Louis, Marty worked at any job he could find. But the jobs didn't last long. Often he had to turn to petty thieving and shoplifting to get the money he so desperately needed. Before long, he became fairly well known to the police.
Mrs. Demelon, do you have anything to say?
Yes, Judge. Marty, he isn't a bad boy. I wish you could have seen him before he started this poison. He always made good grades at school. He was doing so well at Mr. Barston's grocery. Judge, he's a good boy.
I understand. Demelon, I believe you acquired the drug habit through ignorance. If you knew then what you know now, you probably never would have touched that first marijuana cigarette. Well, there's no way of undoing it now. I'm going to sentence you to 1 year in the municipal jail. However, I'll suspend sentence if you're willing to be committed to a hospital for the treatment of drug addicts and stay there until medically discharged.
You mean to try to kick the habit?
That's right. They know how to get you over the physical dependence with the least amount of withdrawal sickness. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
All right, so ordered. Next case.
For those already addicted to drugs, the first step in rehabilitation must be commitment to a hospital where they will be under medical guidance. For the addict willing to be committed or sent by the courts, there are federally operated hospitals. Adequate local hospitals would help to cope with this problem. The treatment itself lasts for months, but withdrawing the drug, the major problem is helping the addict achieve a workable psychological adjustment to life, a life which doesn't include drugs. It's a difficult procedure. No hospital, no doctor can be sure of success in trying to change long-time attitudes. Back in his old haunts, the former addict still finds himself shunned by all but the addicts and peddlers who were his associates before. For effective treatment, there must be a long-term, community-wide program to help the former addict and his family make an adjustment.
Beat it, Duke. I want no part of you.
Don't be a square. What's it getting you?
I don't know yet, Duke. I took plenty to kick the habit. It's my chance, and I'm taking it.
Chance? You ain't got no chance. You're just a junkie to everybody around here.
I know. But they helped me get a job in here. And they went to see Ma. And the doc says that if
Doc says? What does he know? Listen, I'm telling you.
No, cut it.
Against such pressures, local outpatient clinics, social agencies, the church, all are needed if drug addicts are to adjust to a new life. Without intensive effort by all community forces, very few drug addicts can ever expect to return to a normal, useful life in society. It is important in the overall problem of drug addiction to do everything possible to stop the sale of the drugs. One step would be to increase the staff of enforcement agencies, not only federal, but state and municipal agencies too. Criminal syndicates might give up drug traffic entirely if nationwide laws provided for stringent penalties to counteract the tremendous profits, and if these laws were energetically enforced. Certainly such laws would restrict the actions of non-addict peddlers like Louis Legty and make it harder for him to reach his victims. Basic to everything else is a wider knowledge, especially among young people, of the grave danger involved in any kind of experimentation with drugs. They should understand the thoughtless curiosity about what it feels like to smoke marijuana or take a shot of heroin can lead to a lifetime of pain and torment, constantly faced by the horror of being without drugs. Much can be done to stamp out this vicious if each person who knows of a drug peddler or a drug addict reports him to the authorities immediately as a deadly menace to himself and his friends. For every person must take some of the responsibility for preventing the growth of drug addiction. He must face the possibility that he himself may be a potential drug addict. Only by avoiding these drugs completely can he be sure that he will remain forever safe from a vicious habit which enslaves not only one's body, but the soul as well.
Yeah, see, it ended on a good note. So the Marty is John Galvero, and he shows up in quite a few Encyclopedia Britannica films, including Understand Your Emotions, where he plays Larry. He's also in Service and Citizenship, which came out the same year, and I think he plays Bill. And finally, he's in that wonderful film, Are You Ready for Marriage? Where, again, he plays... Wait, is this right? Yeah, Larry. Wow, so he plays Larry twice. And to see him as a heroin addict with like dark circles under his eyes was fascinating. Quite the career in educational films, Encyclopedia Britannica educational films. Although, it's interesting. He's also in Coronet films too. That is fascinating. Yeah, these other films are Coronet films, and then he went over to Encyclopedia Britannica, which is basically in Chicago. Both places were in Chicago, and he played a drug addict. So I feel like he's in Shy Guy too, but I couldn't find the credits for that. Well, thanks for watching today. That was some of you pointed out in the comments, yeah, like that's actually a fairly informative, progressive view of the problem of drug abuse in the United States. It came out in 1951, and then we kind of forgot about it, and all these other things kind of came out. But it's like, wow, I love watching a film where it's like, oh, they totally get it. They totally understand what has to happen to address this problem. And then nobody does it. So there you go. If I haven't mentioned it, please vote. I love your comments and I love your brains, all of you that watch our show. So please make your voice heard and vote. Katrina and I voted on Tuesday. Is that right? No, we voted on Monday. And it was great. It was good. I felt good to do it. So please vote. Make a plan. Bring a friend. If you can early vote, go ahead and just do it. Knock it out. I appreciate you guys so much. And I want you to be heard beyond just the comments of our show. So... also, thank you so much for, I saw someone, was it Burrow Owl, that paid me $10 via the Super Thanks button, but said that I could not use it for drugs. Sorry. once that money ends up in my hands, it's going to go somewhere. And, all I need to do is find someone that uses PayPal, find a drug dealer that uses PayPal, and then that money's gone. Sorry. No, I'll spend it on the one drug of choice, which is coffee, or the other drug, which is collecting films and paying for their storage. That's the other addiction that I have, obviously. Thanks again. We will see you tomorrow, Thursday. And yeah, everybody have a great rest of your day. Take care.